Good morning and good evening, and welcome to my 6,000 mile or 10,000 kilometer review of this here CF Moto 450 Ibex. I recently bought this about 4 months ago, and I have officially totaled 10,000 kilometers, 6,000 miles on it, so here is my review. Now you may be wondering, why should you listen to this random YouTuber on the internet about his thoughts on the CF Moto 450 Ibex? Well, you should listen to me because I'm a real owner of the bike. I'm not like one of the other YouTubers that only have the bike for 1,000 miles or 1,600 kilometers just to test it out. This is my actual bike, and it's my only bike. It's the bike that I ride and die by. It's all that I have. Furthermore, you should trust me because I've already taken multiple big trips on it, including one trip literally across the United States in which I did every single type of terrain. I've driven through rivers, I've driven on the highway in great conditions, in bad conditions. I've driven through literal snow and ice, as well as desert. I went through the Death Valley on this bike, fully loaded with over 200 liters of gear on the back. I've done everything that you can imagine with this bike, and I think I have quite a bit of experience and some understanding on what it's about. So, just before I get into the review, I want to give a little breakup of how I personally use this bike. Out of those 6,000 miles, about 4,000 of them have either been two up or with luggage. So I ride heavy a lot. And I also ride probably 80% road, but still a significant amount of dirt, hard, 2-track, single track even. But the majority of the miles are highway miles, on-road miles, above 50 miles per hour. So yeah, let's get into the road review. So real quick, let me tell you a little bit about some of the modifications that I've done. So the first thing I've done is I added this plate, a wooden plate to the back so that I can carry extra stuff while riding two up. I also put on a 15-tooth sprocket instead of the 14-tooth right away. In my experience, the revs were just too high for going around 75, and it topped out max speed at like 80 was when it was bouncing off the rev limiter. So 15-tooth sprocket is definitely the way to go. I also have crash bars. However, I did not get legit guards. I haven't needed them yet. And recently I put on this WRS Capenard windshield. The stock windshield is fine, but it's much better if you're doing long distances with this windshield. So that wraps up the basic stuff that I've done to it. Let's get more into the review. Now let's get into the road performance of the CF Moto 450 Ibex in my personal experience. Once again, for clarification, I'm from North America, I'm from the US. So when I say road performance, I'm talking about highway interstate, which means minimum 55, but mostly 70 to 85 miles per hour. In my experience, it was just fine on all of the type of roads here in the US, and honestly, unless you're in Germany on the Autobahn, there's no other roads where you're really going faster than 85 miles per hour, which is almost 138, 140 kilometers an hour. No one's driving that fast. The motorcycle is able to handle that, no problem. The max speed, in my experience, I weigh around 160 pounds, a little right around 70 kilos, is 94 miles per hour. That's how fast I'm able to go on flat ground. I do have the 15-tooth front sprocket instead of the stock 14-tooth, but the bike was able to handle everything that I threw at it. The suspension is great. I had no problems with that, especially when I was taking hard corners or anything. So the bike checks out.
So here's what I think about riding two up with luggage. It's doable. The CF Moto is capable of doing it, however it is strained. You can feel that it is strained. Right now I'm about 160 pounds, my brother's 150, and we got about 70 pounds of luggage. So, pretty much significantly over 300 pounds. I think that's 360 pounds of luggage total. And you're able to go on the highway, but I wouldn't go on the interstate. But it does it. Another thing about highway travel on the CF Moto is that the stock windshield is not enough. Right here I have the WRS Capricorn windshield. This windshield really keeps the wind off my face and the head. It does allow wind to go around the sides, so you're still getting hit by wind on the arms and shoulders, which I like, but it keeps it off the face. And it's a must if you're going to be doing even 50% of your riding on the road. And man, look at this San Francisco scenery. This is beautiful.
Now let's talk about the CF Moto 450 Ibex's off-road performance. To start off, I have most of my background in motorcycling. Before this bike was all dual sports, 200cc, single cc dual sport bikes. So this is quite a jump up in both power, size, and weight. That being said, the bike is heavy. It is no dual sport. If you plan to take it off-roading like it was a dual sport, well then, this is not the bike for you. You can't just go ripping down single track with no care in the world because it weighs a lot. For me personally, if the bike falls over, I have no problem picking it up from the ground without luggage. I don't even have to, pick it up backwards. I can pick it up just from the handlebars. It's easy peasy. However, when you add luggage to this bike, it does get quite heavy and very strenuous to pick up. So if you're going to be doing hard enduro dirt trails, maybe go for a CRF 300L. But for the most part, this bike kicks butt on any type of off-road, specifically the suspension. The suspension is damn near perfect. I have no problems with the suspension. I ride with this suspension till the day I die. The fully adjustable KYB is the ticket. The biggest downside with off-roading on this bike, though, in my experience, is the ground clearance. Once again, I came from a dual sport world. I had, 12, 13 inches of ground clearance. This bike has, I think around 9 inches of ground clearance. So if you're going to be doing any hard off-roading trails, you will be hitting rocks. Rocks fling up and hit it. Upgrade the bash plate. I didn't do it, and it really, really scared me going off-road where there was bigger rocks. Yeah. Also get crash bars. The crash bars are needed. Only the upper crash bars. The lower crash bars actually kind of get in the way when you're off-roading, and I found that I was hitting the lower crash bars on rocks that I wasn't actually going to have issues with. Overall, off-road, it kicks butt. Especially if you're carrying no luggage, you can rip it like no one's business. Now that I've kind of given my overview on the on-road performance and off-road performance, let's kind of talk about the bike as a whole. So the maintenance on this bike has been little to none. I haven't had any major problems with it. However, the oil, I've done 2 oil changes now, and myself, and then obviously the initial 500-mile oil change, and the oil was not the cleanest. Not the cleanest oil I've ever seen. There was a little bit of shiny stuff in there. And yeah, there is some gunk, but not bad. It could have been better. The first oil change, real oil change, at 3,600 miles was not the cleanest. There was a little bit of metal shavings on the magnetic plug, but it wasn't anything that I would personally worry about. Another thing is that after my second oil change, I realized that I had burned some oil. Not exactly sure how much, but it was a normal amount, maybe like 300 mil in just over 3,500 miles, because I went a little over on that oil change, which I shouldn't have, but that's how life is. So for those wondering, this is the relative position as the passenger.
You gotta lean back a bit.
Yeah, but it's not too bad, right?
It's not too bad. It's not too great.
There you go. Alrighty guys, now let's talk about some of the reliability issues that I've actually had throughout my time owning the CF Moto 450 Ibex. So to start off, let's talk about starting the bike up. Lately, for about the last 2,000-ish miles, when I try to start up the bike, if it's like raining or if it's super cold, it's not an instant startup, which is normal for bikes. However, it'll maybe have like one misfire when it's trying to start up. It's not bad, but it's not ideal. It's not what I would personally like to see. Let's talk about another thing, the clutch feel. Lately, the clutch has been feeling a little bit soft. I'm not sure if it's still good, it's still working. However, the clutch might be on its way out, which is not ideal. Or it's not on the way out, but it's not 100%, you know, if you know what I mean. And finally, let's talk about the odometer. The odometer is an issue that I can fix whenever I want. It's super simple. It's just that the odometer, when I first originally bought this bike, there was a glitch in the system in one of the updates, and the odometer is broken. All I have to do is go bring that to a CF Moto mechanic, and it's under warranty. However, I just haven't done that. So my odometer isn't working, but I've been keeping track of how many miles are on it. So yeah, light work. So here are my closing thoughts on my CF Moto after 10,000 kilometers or 6,000 miles. It's a great bike. Obviously, it's a Chinese bike. It's not one of the big 3 Japanese bikes, and it's not an American bike or English bike like Triumph, Harley, Indian. But nonetheless, it's a great bike. It's super capable. It's lightweight compared to other bikes that I've used, and it will do everything that you need it to do. I see a lot of stuff online saying it's underpowered or it's not great at dirt. You can chalk most of that up to user skill. If you have the skills, you can use this bike and it'll take you everywhere. And now I want to talk about who this bike is for, because it's not for everyone. Because there are bikes with more power. There is the Tenere, there is the KTM Adventure 790, 890. Those are just, you can't even argue against the fact that they're more capable bikes. I would say this bike is tailored towards someone that has some dirt experience, some adventure riding experience on the off-road side of things, but not a ton. And that's exactly who this is for. It's not going to be the best performer, but it will do it. And it's a great bike to not learn on. I would never say someone should learn how to ride a bike on this. Go hop on a 200cc dual sport with nothing more than 15 horsepower. But after that, I would say this is a great second bike for getting into adventuring, off-roading, stuff like that. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and that's my review.